I welcome you to this discussion forum. The discussion shall be on the subject of the recent consultation paper floated by the Exchange Board of India, the SEBI as we call it. The paper is dated 19th of August 2020, and it concerns the subject of recalibration of the threshold for minimum public shareholding norms vis-a-vis the listed entities which have undergone the CIP process. So, to give you a brief background, a very brief one. So, the minimum public shareholding requirements for listing entities are provided under Regulation 38 of the listing regulations, wherein it is provided that the listed entity has to maintain a minimum public shareholding of 25%. Now, considering the peculiar situations arising out of the CIP process, the relaxations have been provided in respect of companies which have undergone CIP process, and the rationale thereof is very clear that it is to facilitate their revival process. Now, in addition to these relaxation and these requirements, there are certain other relaxations also provided under Chapter 5 of the SEBI Issue of Capital and Disclosure Requirements 2018. Right, I will not take much of your time because I mean everybody knows about these things. So with this, I will not waste your time. I will request Ravi sir to take the session forward.
Thank you, Nitin. Welcome to everybody on this session. There are two issues that we'll be discussing on the SEBI paper. The first issue is of recalibration of threshold for the minimum public shareholding norms post an insolvency resolution approval. The second is whether certain enhanced disclosures are required in the corporate insolvency resolution process. And we will cover both of them. We will follow the usual discipline that anybody who wants to speak can just either raise their hand or put it in the chat box. Preferably use the raise hand icon, and once recognized by the moderator, you can speak. We'll try to see that almost everybody gets a chance to contribute to this session. This is, I think, one of the subjects which practicing company secretaries would love to debate upon. It's right up their alley, and we hope that to have a very fruitful discussion going forward. Okay. I would take it as that all of you have read what SEBI has proposed. The issue that they are talking about, that the minimum shareholding norms, which as of now require that the relisted company post CIRP should achieve a 10% shareholding in a period of 18 months and 25% in 3 years. But there are instances where post relisting with a very nominal float, sometimes even less than 1%, companies have relisted, and there are concerns raised with SEBI and by SEBI that this might disrupt the market, especially the smaller shareholders. Based on that, they have floated this paper. They have given these three options of what ought to be instead of what is existing. The first option talks of a minimum 10%, the second of at least 5%, and the third is the first one is 10% within 6 months. The second one is 5% at the time of relisting itself. The third option is at least 10% from beginning. We will be discussing on these three options. Participants can place their views as to which option they would prefer, with or without modification. And it's an open session. We will not be specifically going around. Anybody who wants to start is, of course, absolutely welcome to start with their initial remarks. Who would like to set the ball rolling?
Can I speak?
Yes, Mr. Bansal, please go ahead.
My first comment on this paper is that this paper is not very clear about the IBC angle. Okay, why I have said so? That because when the CRP happens of a listed company, it, generally if you see they have listed the five companies, big five for which they have talked about the Electro Steel, Monnet Ispat, GV Global, Ruchi Soya, Alok Industries, Bafna Pharmaceutical. If you see the pattern, if you will realize that the waiver, the extinguishment of the shares of only promoter holding has been requested for. They have not requested for the extinguishment of the public shareholding. Okay, I have matched it with the public data available, and in case of all the five, there is a single pattern that in the registration plan they have asked for the extinguishment of the promoter holding. In fact, I myself have handled the resolution for one listed company, and I had faced this problem. Now, first my discussion when we were handling this, then what has happened is we requested for the distinguishment of the promoter holding. But when we were coming in the discussion of the extinguishment of the minority holding, because there could be a situation, if you see that one company has got the public shareholding of 75%, there could be another situation where the public shareholding is of 25%. There could be another situation where the public holding is only 1%, right? But generally, we do not ask for the extinguishment, because if we ask for the extinguishment, then essentially would mean it will become discrimination. Okay. So, suppose within say I got a public shareholding, I am handling a CRP of a company where the public shareholding is say 30%. Now 70% I can safely ask for the promoter shareholding will get extinguished. But when it will come to 30%, say suppose I decide that okay, 20% I want the extinguishment. Then question comes in, which shareholder I should choose 20%. So my point is that the basic thinking which has gone behind this probably misses the way the CRP of the listed companies are handled. Point number one. Point number two, question comes in that what is the solution and what is the how it can be handled. My understanding is that here the SEBI should see if you go by the origin of it. When we go for the insolvency, there are two capitals are there. One is called the risk capital, second is called loan capital. And it is well known that there is nothing for me to explain that once the risk capital is born, then then only the company goes into generally the company goes into insolvency. Because any company which goes into insolvency, the general
Mr. Bansal, I sorry to interrupt you, but the please restrict your comments to which of the options that you prefer, either for or against. Okay. There are three options given by SEBI. SEBI has given a detailed paper. They have covered all background behind it. So kindly stick to the what is asked for. Otherwise, we won't be able to complete it today.
Okay. So see, if I go for it, according to me, if I go by IBC angle, nothing is possible. Neither 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Right. Mr. Rajendran, you wanted to say? Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, my point is like this. There are not many companies which have gone through this IBC process and continue to get listed. Only 6 of the companies have been shown in the discussion paper. As an RP, I handled one case of a listed company which preferred to get delisted. Upon the implementation of the resolution plan, it got delisted. In my view, Mr. Ravi Prakash Gandhi sir, that it is the discretion of the resolution applicant whether he would like to have access to the capital market by way of having public shareholding, whether he would like to continue to enjoy being a listed company, or he would like to completely get away from the listing process and registered with the stock exchanges. In my view, there should be a flexibility for the companies post CARP And in the event they want to continue as a listed company, they should comply with the 25% mandatory provision, which is 3 years from the date of the event which is happening. In my view, there should be a flexibility for the company, the CARP companies, that within a period of 3 years, they get to that 25% mark is well and good. If they don't do that, then they should face the penalty. In between, bringing either 5% or 10% for the sake of certain events which have happened. For example, Ruchi Soya has been reportedly having only less than 1% public shareholding, and the prices has skyrocketed, have gone even 8,000%, 8,764%. But I think such cases are very far and few in between. In my view, sir, the options given by SEBI seem to be limiting ourselves to very few options. This is how it's not little open-ended. I could see that, you choose out of these three. Given an option, I would go for option 2. Please be, let the company be mandated to have at least 5% shareholding at the time of relisting, and eventually have the 25% compliance in 3 years. So that is my view. So thank you. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. Okay, just to, because I saw a little confusion, to let me tell what the paper is actually about. It is not that it is asking compulsory listing. No, it is if the company wishes to list after a resolution plan, what shall it be? Today, there is no minimum threshold. It is 10% to be achieved within 18 months. They are asking now, that has created a problem. Should there be a minimum 5% listing or 10%? And what shall be the period? Okay. So this is the question that is asked. The three options are like that. Yes, Madan sir, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Raviji, first of all, I have my own reservation on your statement that we have to choose among one of the three options. Please, I have remained part of various SEBI consultation papers. And whenever SEBI is coming out with any consultation paper, any discussion paper, SEBI is open for other options also, which are not part of the discussion paper. So I have my own reservation whether we should confine to these three or we can give some other options also. I think we can give other options also. And SEBI will be openly may accept that if it is on merits. Number 2, we have to go into the genesis of this discussion paper or this consultation paper, why this consultation paper has come. Why in some of the cases, what has actually happened, we need to know that, then it will be able to give the better option or better suggestion to SEBI. I don't know how many of you are aware about what has happened in Ruchi Soya. The share got listed because the public shareholding is less than 1%. Share got listed at 13 rupees, 13. It went up to 700 rupees in the month of May. It comes down to 500, and then the very next month, in the month of June, it goes up to 1535. 13 रुपए वाला शेयर 1535 रुपए हो जाता है. कोई मुझे बताएगा कौन खरीद रहा था उस शेयर को? And then from 1535 it starts a downward journey, and nowadays it is around 530, 540. उस 1535 रुपए में से 1000 रुपए साफ हो चुके हैं within another 2 months. Further, in the month of February itself, in the same company, one particular professional's firm has been allotted more than 186,000 shares at a premium of ₹5 only. This is what has happened in this company. And then when all these things come in public, 2 of the independent directors of the company resign immediately in the month of July. Very next month, MD of the company resigns. And now somebody else takes over as MD. What all this is happening? Is it not that undue advantage of these provisions of IBC vis-a-vis SEBI are being, the disadvantage is being taken? Are they not provisions being misused? Same thing has happened in Alok Industries also. 2 रुपए वाला शेयर 55 रुपए हो जाता है एकदम से, और 55 से फिर वापिस आके वो 20 रुपए पे आता है और अभी 25 रुपए. So my submission is, अगर इन तीनों में से भी कोई देखना है, सलाह लेना है, तो I will go ahead with that at the time of relisting, the minimum public shareholding should not be less than 10%. Number two, entire promoter shareholding should be locked in for a period of 3 years and not for 1 year. Number three, ये पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग आएगी कहां से, ये भी इशू हो सकता है. My question is, why all the existing shares should be extinguished? Why not they can be brought down to 10%, 5%, 2%? सबको extinguish करने की क्या जरूरत है? Why not they remain? In case of Essar Steel also, what we have observed, all the existing shares are getting extinguished. All the existing shareholders' shareholding is being debited from their demat account, and all of a sudden we are getting an intimation from our DP that these must shares stand extinguished from my account. How can somebody do that? Whether the resolution plan is approving all this, whether NCLT approval to a resolution plan can approve this, that my shareholders, my shares lying in my DP account, those shares will not remain the shares. And who has got power to make a debit freeze in my account? That should not be permitted at all. आपने मेरे शेयर करने हैं ना, मेरे पास 1000 शेयर हैं, आप 100 कर दो, 50 कर दो, 10 कर दो, कुछ तो करो. पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग कुछ तो रहनी चाहिए. मेरी से रहेगी नहीं. आई बीइंग एग्जिस्टिंग शेयर होल्डर, मेरी से नहीं रहेगी. Promoters will grab the entire shareholding, then they will manipulate in the market. In the meantime, some non-professional shall be allotted some shares and they will play in the market.
Thank you.
Is that the scheme of the law? Is that a scheme of the plan? I think no. These practices have to be curbed. We need some strong regulations for this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madan Saab. Yes. Next, who wants to speak?
Can I come in?
Yes, please.
I would agree to some points with Mr. Madan that SEBI is open to any other suggestion as well. So it is not only option number 1, option 2 or option 3. You can give them option 4, 5 and 6 as well. So I will go with option number 4. Other person can come with option 5 and 6. My point is, either when other company delist, or in case company remains listed post approval of resolution plan, then for a company to be in trading mode, the shareholding of public should be minimum 10%. In case the plan is approved in a manner that public shareholding has come down below 10%, then there should be freeze on the trading. The trading should remain suspended until unless the public shareholding is raised to minimum 10%, and the time within which this should be raised to 10% should not be more than 6 months. And this can be done by offloading of shares by promoters to the extent that he raises the public shareholding MSP to 10%, and above that his shareholding may remain locked in, if not for 3 years, at least for 2 years, so that he is not able to manipulate the market to his advantage. That's it. And as we move on, we can discuss some further things. Thank you.
Thank you, Manishji. Yes. Who would like to come in?
I'll speak.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Firstly, I would say that the resolution plan can provide that all the shares will be extinguished, and I suppose the extinguishment will happen on the basis of the approved resolution plan. Second is that I think that the promoter holding, to the extent of bringing it to the minimum public shareholding of, so firstly 10% and thereafter 25%, to that extent, they should be able to offload their shares. And there was a provision, or in fact, there is a provision in terms of illiquid shares, the method by which this can be done. It is not through open market mechanism. So the same methodology should be adopted for the dilution of the promoter share, and for the rest, it can remain suspended for trading till the minimum float of 10% is achieved, and the 25% should be achieved within the period of 3 years or maybe 2 years. That is as per the minimum requirement.
Thank you. Who would like to come in now? We have a lot of company secretaries with a lot of experience of the stock market. Can we have the benefit? Yes, Amitji, go ahead.
Sir, I will agree what Mr. Madan and Munishji has submitted. Let us understand what is the purpose of minimum public shareholding. Why the SEBI came out with the concept paper long back and mandated that there has to be a minimum public shareholding of 25%, which has now was recently been proposed to be enhanced to 35% even, although that proposal is in process. So I am with the thought that the option 4 should be carved out, that there has to be a minimum 10% of public shareholding if company wants the status as listed. If company does not want, or is the resolution plan does not permit the choosing of minimum 10% of the public shareholding, the company can very well be delisted. There is no difficulty in having the resolution plan prepared in that manner also. Now, the second thought, what Rishi was saying, let's say the resolution plan is compressing the public shareholding, and it is, let's say, coming down to 1% or less than 10%, any number, then the trading should definitely be freezed out. Trading cannot be allowed, because the way manipulations are possible in the market, are we waiting for something even bigger to happen, then only we'll wake up. Just to add, I will add one more point for discussion in this forum also. My view is that the moment company is coming to CIRP, we should agree that there is a loss of disclosure in the public domain, maybe for whatever reason it may be. It may be due to compulsions, it may be due to confidentialities, it may be due to anything. And also Section 28 of IBC, which says that approval of committee of creditors is required for change in shareholding during this period. Although the company is public listed and shares are freely tradable, but IBC Section 238 being non-obstante clause, which says that nothing in any other law will supersede, this law will supersede over all other things. So why can't we think of a situation to protect the interest of the public, that the moment company is brought to CIRP, till the time resolution, why the price rigging should be allowed? Because many a times what happens, and all will be having some or other example, we can share those examples also. But I understand certainly there are compulsions which cannot allow the free market information, free information about the particular trade or about the particular company resolution process. There may be select few who may be having the information. Why that situation be allowed? This present situation where we are, this is very good for a developed economy. The economy where investor has got, this is the ideal situation. I will agree that SEBI don't want to let any imposition of their own wisdom on the market. They are allowing the market should be allowed to be traded, even during the CIRP process or even during the resolution process also. That is an idealistic situation. But those idealistic market does not exist in India. Neither we are developed economy, neither our investors are having the knowledge as the investors in developed economies are. So we certainly need to have a different path what the other economies are following. So my suggestion is that we should deliberate not only on but also on the proposal that can we think of and suggest one more line that what way the trading should be suspended during the CIRP process also. And also there is one more suggestion that the paper has that regarding the enhanced disclosure on the resolution plan, it says that the limited portion of the resolution plan which is not disclosing the competitive information or the commercial information, those part, removing that part, we can disclose the other information. The point is that
Amitji, sorry for butting in. We will come to that issue. That's once we finish this part, we will come to that because that's a major issue by itself. In fact, how much is the minimum public shareholding post a resolution plan is something which the RP directly is not involved in, frankly speaking. It's a post, you demit your office, then this thing happens. But disclosures is where you are directly involved, and definitely we will need to address that separately, which we will do. Before we go forward in the discussion, just so that because the paper has come late, so SEBI has also said that the lock-in period of 1 year can be flexible to the extent that promoters may be allowed to sell their shares to bring it to the minimum public shareholding now. That is part of the paper also. Just thought I'll bring it to the attention of the audience participants. Yeah.
Mr. Ganti?
Yes, please.
Can I come in for
Nilesh Sharma.
हाँ नीलेश जी बोलिए.
हाँ जी. Okay. So one is that the resolution plan, as we know that even secured creditor and even secured creditors, they don't get their full dues. And most of the operational creditors, they also get very small portion of their dues. So in most of the cases, we have seen that shareholders normally, they don't have any stake left. And you know that even if suppose in some company there is something left for the shareholders, we are not having any form prescribed under the IBC for them to file their claim. So we don't treat them as a claimant in the process. Okay, so most of the cases we have seen that reduction in equity is there, and when unsecured operational creditors, they are not getting anything. So then it is justified, or they are getting very small portion of their dues, then writing off the equity totally is fully justified. So I think whatever suggestions are maybe there, or whatever changes are there, that right of the resolution applicant to get the equity reduced to nil, I think that should not go. That is one. Second is at the time of listing, if suppose a company is to be listed, then in that case, the intent has to be that the new promoter, they should not manipulate. Okay, so if we have the minimum equity of 5% or 10%, I think then scope for manipulation will always be there. I think through a different transparent process, public should be allowed to invest, but at that point of time, minimum public shareholding should not be less than 10%. So it can be through a document which discloses all the information with respect to the company, and then a mechanism can be like when we, though I'm not an expert in share market and all, but I think through a market making process, equity can be offloaded in the market, and it is not that the market immediately after reduction, suppose we keep 5% or 7% and then we allow the trading in the market. I think trading should be allowed only after 10%, minimum 10% equity is offloaded through a transparent process, through a process where the proposed public shareholders, they are given the information with respect to the company, and then only. Second is a very good suggestion which has been given by Amit Gupta, that why we are allowing trading in the shares of the companies which are referred to the CIRP process. We are allowing to manipulate when we know that in most of the cases the equity is going to be written off fully, and then why we are allowing the trading? I think trading should be suspended immediately upon admission of a particular matter in CIRP. Okay, so this is not the topic for discussion today, but I think it's a very good suggestion, and I think it should be recommended to the SEBI. Okay, and coming to the issue of this one, 36 months for reaching 25%, I think is okay. That's all from my side.
Can I come in?
Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you.
For a moment.
Hello.
Can I come in for a moment, please?
Yeah, good.
Okay, now carrying on this point raised by Amit ji and endorsed by Nilesh ji about suspension of trading of a company under CIRP. I'll give little background of changes in the SEBI laws that were made to the company undergoing CIRP. It was in October and November 2017 that a committee of IBBI and SEBI was formed to look into the issues of company undergoing CIRP. I happen to be part of the committee, and in that committee, there were in fact 6 issues on the table. One was delisting of securities of company undergoing CIRP. It was scheme of arrangement, reduction of share capital, then tenure of convertible instruments, and regular compliances and reporting requirement by IRP, ERP, and suspension of trading. At that point of time, we were 4 IPs in that committee, and 2 of us, I will not name, over two of us have strongly vouched for this thing that this trading should be suspended. And finally, a meeting was held at SEBI office in Mumbai. 2 meetings we held at IBBI office, and 1 we held at finally in November at SEBI. Then there were 2 EDs present in that meeting, and their view was the sole purpose why the SEBI exists is protection of minority shareholder interest. And they were of the view that by allowing trading in the security of company undergoing CIRP, they are protecting minority shareholding interest. Though we were of the view that by allowing the trading, in fact, you are not protecting their interest, you are harming their interest. But this issue was debated for not less than 4 hours. It was a 6-hour meeting, and for 4 hours we kept debating on the suspension of trading, but SEBI was not at all agreeing to it. That was the background, and they have not agreed, and the trading continued. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monishji. But of course, like any other issue, one can revisit it with experience of what has happened in the last 3 years. But that is a separate issue, and I think on that issue we will not discuss further today. We will have a separate meeting if required for that. Madan sir, you want to add anything on the issue that is being discussed in the paper?
Yes. Number 1, with due respect to everybody, I am against suspension of trading during CIRP, because the exit route at any cost has to be given to the existing shareholder. This exit route cannot be closed at all. Number 2, coming to this minimum threshold limit, I say if the members are of the view that no minimum shareholding is required, or the existing shareholding may be extinguished, promoters may be allowed to have 100% shareholding, then in that scenario, entire promoter shareholding should be suspended or should be in freeze mode, lock-in mode for a period of 3 years. Until the time it comes out of the freeze mode, the trading of the company shares should remain listed, but the trading should remain suspended. Otherwise, there are many chances of Ruchi Soya happening again, जहां 4,000 रुपए का रेजोल्यूशन प्लान, मार्केट कैप गोज अप टू 45,000 crores within 6 months, no production, no profit, 11 times of the resolution plan the market cap is. The new promoters may take advantage of all this. That should not be allowed to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Okay, just to clarify, in case there's been some misunderstanding, in a company where 100% existing shares are extinguished, there is no listing again. So the question doesn't come. If the promoter is holding 100%, such a company cannot be relisted under any circumstance. There has to be a fractional shareholding, which is
99 is as good.
99, yes, 99, yes, 100%.
99 is as good as 100.
Yeah. Okay, that's what happened in Ruchi Soya. In fact, it's exactly the example that we are talking about, and the reason for this paper and this discussion today. Okay. Anybody wants to speak?
Can I speak?
Hello.
Ravish, can I speak?
I'm not able to make out who is asking. Is it Amit ji?
It is Praveen Bansal, sir.
Bansal ji. Boli. Yeah.
Sir, one point.
Short, to the point.
Yeah, one point which I want to bring to your notice is that
we can't hear you properly. Thoda close आइए.
Hello.
Yeah. Faintly, yes.
Then I'll just come on computer. Just take the next audience, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Can I just take next audience? I'll just let me go on the computer.
Yeah, just get your audio a little fixed. Yes. Yeah. Who wants to speak? Prashant ji?
Yes, sir.
Boliye.
Sir, in my opinion, I would like to go for first option with the caveats as Amit ji and Nilesh ji and Manish ji also said. There has to be suspension of scrip in the and post CRP 5% within 6 months and 25% within 3 years is well enough, because there is a equity which has to be again go in the market and it get earned their value during this 3 years. So this is, I believe, is perfect. Only thing during the CRP it has to be suspended, so all other manipulation can be stopped.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Again, to reiterate, we will not anymore talk of suspension of trading during CRP. It is not the issue today. Yeah, Amit ji, you want? Yes, go ahead.
I just
Yeah.
want to,
Sorry,
thank you for allowing me to bring a couple of more points. I just wanted some clarification from the learned members also. When we are saying that public shareholding is extinguished, what are the modes by which the public shareholding is extinguished? That is very important for us to understand, so that we arrive at a right conclusion, what can be the options which are provided in the paper and the way forward can be decided. To my mind, what is coming to is the resolution plan. One option can be reduction of share capital, by which the public shareholding can be reduced, and it can go up to 100% and the company may be delisted also. Second option may be that the resolution applicant may be allotted further new shares, and by virtue of new allotment, the existing public shareholding may fall below 25%, or maybe even less, or maybe come down to 1%, or even less than 1% also. That may be option number 2. Other than that, or maybe there is a reorganization of a capital, reorganization of a company, maybe through merger amalgamation, by which also the capital structure may be changed. I am not able to get any other mode. If anybody has, then I would be happy to understand. But if I discuss on the option number 2, which is by way of infusion of fresh capital, on this point I am with Madan sir. why the public shareholding at all should be extinguished in this particular case. Public shareholding, why can't we allow the public shareholding to remain whatever it is? If I am holding 10 shares, 10 share remains 10 share. And after the minimum threshold of public holding of 10% or 25% is restored, the trading will be allowed. So I will unlock my value maybe over a period of time. I think his line and his disagreement is only on the point that he's saying that trading should not be suspended. He has his own reasons for not doing, perhaps for the protection of the minority interest. But I'm saying he continuing the even after not achieving the 10% holding is more dangerous to the minority holder on that particular point. I would like to hear the others if there are any other mode of extinguishing the public shareholding, especially.
Okay, yeah, 1 second, please hold on. Before we proceed further, yeah, Mr. Bansal, I'll recognize you shortly. Just to clarify again, what is the subject matter of the discussion? The means of reduction, the means of extinguishing, how much shall be extinguished, which category is all the domain of the CIRP process, the resolution plan, and the NCLT. So it is not the part of discussion here. So let us not get into those which are not on the table today. Today is SEBI has come up because SEBI has given a certain relaxation. They have noticed some anomalies arising out of that relaxation. Now they are asking the public at large, but IBBI and the IPS are asking IPs, and our lens should be from the view of IBC. That means in terms of how such a thing, either way, will impact, let us say, the feasibility and viability of the plan in implementation. Otherwise, we are not concerned as IPs. We might be concerned as CS in a separate avatar. So let us stick to the IP avatar today when we are discussing how does it impact the IBC process, whether any, let us say tomorrow it says 25% minimum, for example, then will it restrict the number of resolution applicants coming? If it is 5% also, can it be? Let us look at it from that lens. That is what is expected from us, not the process of extinguishing, not how it is cancelled. That's all laid down in different laws. Yeah, Mr. Bansal.
Yes.
Audio is okay? Yeah, right.
Audio is okay. I think now it should be okay. My point, which is coming, in fact, after this hearing all the district members, one point is very clear that when I will take you to IBC again because ultimately everything has to start from the IBC and then has to end with the listing side of it. So this is a part two, frankly. So, we are talking about the IBC first, and then from there we are talking about what it should be after further listing. Okay, my way of looking at it is that since the shareholding gets the zero value, then why should I leave the value as a registered applicant? Why should I leave the any value for the public shareholder? Then thereby I am diluting the value which I am creating, frankly. So my way of looking at it, either we should the SEBI should allow for reduction in the face value, or from our perspective, then it becomes that they reduce the face value of the share and then they get consolidated. Okay, these are two methodologies which are possible, probably.
Yeah, Bansalji, let's not get into methodology of reduction, please. How much should be the public shareholding on relisting? Let's stick to what is the subject.
Sir, I'm coming to public shareholding, sir.
Please come fast.
Now, next comes the public shareholding. My belief is the public shareholding at the time of the listing should be 10%. Okay, lock-in should be around 3-year period of time, and the promoter should be it should be mandated that the public shareholding should go up to say 25 or 30%, whatsoever the requirement is there. This is my view, clear view on this.
Thank you. Yes. Anybody would like?
Yes, Mr. Ravi.
थोड़ा दूसरा चांस देता हूँ. नीलेश जी बात करना चाहते हैं. 1 मिनट रुकिए.
सर, अगर आपको 3 पे रखना है तो वोटिंग करवा लीजिए ना सर. अगर 3 पे ही आपने आंसर किया तो वोटिंग करवा लीजिए ना सर.
नहीं नहीं, 3 पे आंसर नहीं, आप दूसरी चीज मत बोलिए, सिर्फ उसमें बोलिए, क्या चौथा बोलिए, पांचवा बोलिए, ऑप्शन बताइए. Okay, प्रोसेस में. नीलेश जी, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, Mr. Gandhi. Actually, with respect to two suggestions, one is that the public shareholding should not be reduced. So with respect to that, I am having a different view. Reason is, suppose in a company, we are having a public shareholding of 30%. And we say that no, they should continue. So what we are doing is that, as you know, that reallocation of risk, which is part of, or allocation of risk to the different stakeholders. So I think we are committing a mistake there, because as you know that shareholders, they are the first to bear the loss. And what we are doing is that we are saying secured creditors, you are not getting your full dues because you are sacrificing your interest, and in some cases your principal also. Unsecured creditors, they are also not, which are operational creditors, they are also making huge sacrifice because they may be getting very small portion of their dues. But the shareholders, public shareholders, we are saying that your equity, you will continue to have the same amount of equity. So I think there is an error. And the new promoter who comes, he will say that I am bringing the necessary equity, I am creating the capital, I'm creating the value here, and then why should I share 30% of my value creation with the existing shareholders? Rather, and then the other stakeholders, the secured creditors and then other creditors, they will also say that this value should not be given to the shareholders, rather give us this much of equity. If you want to retain 30% of the equity or 40% of the public equity, so then better, because we are in section 53 also, we are on a.
I think we lost you there.
That is one. Second is, Praveerji, let me complete. Second is that whether the lock-in should be there on the entire 100% of the equity of the new promoter. There also, as we know that normally promoter contribution 20%, 30% for a period of 2 years or 3 years, or rather 3 years, I think normally restrictions are there. But here in this particular case, when a new promoter is coming, if we are blocking him for a period of 3 years, I think then he may not be able to raise money. Otherwise, he may be requiring the money for the purpose of meeting working capital requirement, or for the purpose of further expansion of that particular SIG company which he has taken over. So by offloading some part of his equity, I think he can raise money which is required. So in place of asking him to fund the total equity and then not to dilute it in future for a period of 3 years, I think we are blocking some a tap of working capital for him. So this is my question.
Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you. One second. Hold on. Just to get the discussion back on the parameters. Okay, public shareholding can be reached to that whatever is the threshold level in 3 ways. One is the existing public shareholding is not reduced to a level which is below the threshold in some manner. That is one, within the existing one. Second is where the promoter shareholding, after cancellation of all existing shares, the new promoter, the RS shareholding, is offered for sale or is in a predefined period, so that the public shareholding is brought up to whatever is the norm. And the third, which has not been discussed, but I think is still allowed in the law, is a parallel. The plan itself contains an offer for sale, a public issue component built into the plan. I don't think the IBC restricts that, and I don't think probably any other norms restrict. So one can work around these 3 options and let us discuss, because these are, to the best of my understanding, there are only 3 options. Okay. Madan sir,
Yes. First of all, I would like to respond to Mr. Nilesh's comments. Number one, I never said that existing public shareholding should remain the same. Last year, there was a discussion paper that all OCs should be paid something. That was a discussion paper. I think there can be another discussion paper that the existing public shareholders should be paid something, or their value should remain something. That something may even be 1%, if not more than that. Number one. Number two, as far as the discussion on this paper is concerned, my humble request to IPA that this paper came on 18th of August and suggestions are to be given by 18th of September. Why are we discussing at the last moment by giving just 1 day's notice? I think some appropriate, adequate time should have been given to everybody. Number three, Mr. Ganti, you said that today we have to see this concept paper from IP's angle. Sir, I differ. If we have to see from IP's angle, then this discussion paper is not for us at all. Because all this is coming to the forum on the resolution plan is approved, then we are not a party to that at all. And if that is the scenario, then certainly I will be tempted to give my suggestion through some other forum and not through ICSI IIP. Other forum is also open for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Number four, that we should restrict to the whatever option given in the paper. I'm again submitting that me and Mr. Amit Gupta are part of some other group also, where we know it very well that SEBI is open to all discussions, all options, all suggestions, even beyond the concept paper. So we should not try to restrict to the options given in the concept paper. We may think beyond that also. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madanji. Anybody else wants to come in?
तो आ जाऊं सर।
हाँ जी, बोलिए।
सर अगर नीलेश जी ने जैसे एक्सप्लेन किया था कि एक्चुअली क्या है कि जब कंपनी में लॉस होगा तो द वैल्यू एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू द शेयर होल्डर इज जीरो। तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि पब्लिक लॉजिकली द पब्लिक शेयर होल्डिंग शुड फेस वैल्यू शुड बिकम जीरो लॉजिकली। माय वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इज दैट they should allow the reduction of the share capital, reduction of the face value of the public shareholding. So it has got an advantage because if the public shareholding is at 30%, before it will remain 30%, and it is 25%, that will remain at 25% itself. Plus the promoter himself get an opportunity that for the difference amount, he can find out or say there could be possibility that he can raise the money from the market. Suppose the share capital face value brings down to 9 rupee, he can get from the market. That way it will help the promoter also to raise the finance from the public. So this is my suggestion that the SEBI should play more on the face value than now bringing down the number of the threshold of the public holding. That is the point I wanted to make it. Of course, if they want to go for public holding, my belief is again I hold the same view that 10%, 25%, and 3-year lock-in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, anybody would like to contribute a different viewpoint, a different suggestion, or shall we go to the next topic, which is related to compliances? Okay.
Ravi sir, can we?
Haji, boliye.
Sir, can we hear your views also?
Sir, I am here to moderate, not to give views. I am not on Republic TV.
ये तो व्यू लास्ट में देंगे।
नहीं, मैं तो सब summarize करूंगा. Okay. This is the next part of the issue. This is now important because I think here IPs in their roles as RPs will be involved. Okay. They have given a certain, I think 8 or 9 points of 8 points of disclosures. Okay. After the resolution plan is approved, the RP will probably have a role to play in this. Definitely the RA. I would presume should I just quickly read what is asked for in case people have not had time to read the paper? So the first point they are asking is the pre and post net worth of the company. The second is the detailed pre and post, that means pre shareholding pattern, assuming 100% conversion. The details of funds infused, creditors paid. This is largely, I think, the table H that we make. the additional liability on the incoming investors due to the transaction, sources of funding, impact on the investor. I don't know why they are asking, but they are asking this. The names of the new promoters, naturally, some of the basic things that a listed company is required to share, disclose, past experience, if the promoters are companies, the history of such company, names of the natural persons in control. A brief description of business strategy. This is the crux of the plan that has been presented and approved. What is it that the successful resolution applicant is planning to do with the corporate data? And the resolution plan itself, now this is new to us, excluding confidential information and commercial secrets. Okay. Now this is what is being asked. Participants, you can have your say on whether this is okay, is it feasible to give such things, should it be given, or they are all fine, all whatever they are asked for, are the basic requirements of any matured securities market.
Sir, can I raise the only one point, small point? At what time they are expecting this reporting?
Sorry.
At what time they are expecting this reporting, sir?
It's there in the paper.
So I think I may have missed up.
Yeah, okay. It is post-resolution plan to the,
immediately.
See, it is the standardized reporting framework pursuant to approval of resolution plan. Okay. Now, question is, of course, who will do it? It depends on who is in office at that time. If the RP continues in office in some form, maybe the RA will ask the RP to help in this. But definitely, RA is involved in this because most of the details are where the RA is concerned. So naturally, whoever comes into management is responsible.
But generally, the monitoring professional come into play. No?
Monitoring committee, whoever it is, if the company has to do it, the SEBI will recognize the company, and the company includes all those officers which are listed as per Companies Act and SEBI. Okay. Yeah.
So this is to be given in 3 days of receiving approval of from the NCLT.
Generally, all those rules are made like that. we have a 14-day rule of admission.
So RP would be de facto charged till the time because it takes at least 5-10 days to hand over.
Yeah, true. Of course, technically, the RP's term of office ends with the approval of the plan on paper. As I said, it involves both. RP definitely would get involved in most cases where such a thing happens, because the RA, whoever is coming, if it's a new party, would like the existing RP to continue in some form or the other till the handholding is over. Any issue with any of these things that are asked for? Does anybody have a comment as to, is it too much? Is it too little?
Sir, can I share my view, Mr. Ravi Prakash?
Please, go ahead.
Yeah. Generally, sir, when the resolution plan gets approved, there is a monitoring committee which takes the role of implementation of the resolution plan. And in most of the cases, the RP also is part of the monitoring committee, where the three parties, the resolution applicant, the resolution professional, and the committee of creditors, or at least representatives of the committee of creditors, are part of the monitoring committee. The information which is being listed here as requirement by SEBI, in my view, it's not possible to share the information immediate, the few weeks of even approval of the resolution plan, because the plan itself will have so many factors for implementation. There could be deferred payment to various creditors, and there could be deferred, funds to be brought in by the resolution applicant to meet various payments under the resolution plan. I think one important information which can be shared by the resolution professional when he is in charge of the monitoring committee is that what is the schedule for implementation? What is the period of implementation of the resolution plan? the numbers, the metrics, in my view, it would be very, very difficult to put it on record. And the first line of the slide shows pre and post net worth of the company. In my view, should we draw it on the cutoff of the CRP commencement date or the NCLT approval date? Because in between, there are so much of time gap. In some of the cases being handled now, even after the COC approves the plan, the NCLT takes so much time thanks to litigation from the promoters and various stakeholders. Now, if you are talking about the CARP commencement date, the post and the pre and post net worth, I think there is some clarity is required on the item number 1, the pre and post net worth of the company, in my view. And when we are demitting office as the RP, I think giving all this information would not be a proper shape. It would not be in proper shape. And at the best, the RP can share a kind of a roadmap, how the implementation is going to happen, what is the timelines, and probably we can share how the creditors are going to be paid and how the RA has charted out its course of action. Is business. The revised PE, RONW ratio are too early, too premature to give it to an investor, which will have an impact on the market. And I don't think it should be a proper document unless the board of directors of the reconstituted board of directors take note of these things at a properly held convened board meeting. This is my view, Mr. Ravi Prakash.
Thank you, Rajendraji. Thanks a lot. Just to clarify, these requirements are pre-resolution plan approval and post-resolution plan, not insolvency commencement.
Okay.
So, yeah.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of this information should be culled out of the resolution plan itself. But I agree with Mr. Rajendran, as far as future figures are concerned, SEBI normally discourages any future statements, and the same should apply here. You should stick to the facts which can be culled out of the resolution plan.
Right, thank you. And from the paper, just 1 second. The paper does not seem to disclose, mandate any minimum time requirement. At least I couldn't find it. So I don't know exactly what it is. It might be that they want it over a period of time and not necessarily the next day or within 3 days. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me see. When I see all the requirement 1 to 7, 8, you rightly said that when I go through this, then there are certain requirements which can be information which can be provided immediately after approval. Now, and there are certain requirements which can make a sense to disclose it immediately after implementation. If I go through the list quickly, pre and post net worth of the company, it makes sense to disclose it after the implementation, not before, because when immediately on approval, and there is nothing worthwhile, because share capital will continue, it will extinguish over a period of time. So disclosing is not a work. After it makes sense. When you talk about detailed pre and post shareholding pattern, this information in any case generally is available in the registration plan. This can be disclosed. But when it comes to the details of funding, paid off. So if they're talking about it, what registration plan says, that can be disclosed at the time of the approval of registration plan. But how much has been infused and debt has been paid off, that can be disclosed only after the implementation of the registration plan. Similarly, when they want additional liability on the investors, I think the noise is there. When you talk about the additional liability on the incoming investor due to the transaction of sources of funding, I see this. I think they're talking more from the perspective of the investor would provide the additional security or some asset outside it, and probably it makes sense only after the implementation. when you talk about the impact on the investor, revised PE, RNW, this can be make sense only after implementation, not before that. The sixth number is naming of new promoter, KMP and all, because generally KMPs take some time. So yes, detail of new promoter can be disclosed, but KMP and all takes time. So probably appointment of the KMP makes sense after implementation. Name a promoter, past experience, definitely it makes sense to disclose it at immediately after approval of the registration. Brief description of business strategy, it can be disclosed as soon as the registration plan gets approved. But my belief is that ultimately the business strategy will be more theoretical. When we talk about the immediately on the approval, where really speaking, the business strategy can be formalized only after implementation of registration plan, because that time once we implement everything, that time we understand the reality of it. There could be example whereby the factory is closed and the factory gets opened, after taking care of the workers' dues, machine operation, everything. Then only we can know exactly how much production we are going to get, and then only we can say that okay, how we are going to sell. So my belief is business strategy again has to be could be disclosed only at the once the implementation happens. As far as 8th item is on registration plan, according to me, it doesn't make any sense to talk about it, to give information to the shareholder, because most of rather it should be an additional point which can be put over here. But saying it the registration plan is confidential information. Instead of that, it should be replaced with saying it that if there is any other material information in there, that should be disclosed. So this is the way I'm looking at all the items.
Thank you. Yes. Anybody has any view on any of these items?
Yes, sir. This is Suhasini from Easy Resolve, Hyderabad.
Yeah, please speak. Go ahead.
Sir, regarding these options, option 1, 2, 3, where they have given this threshold of 25% of public shareholding, I think it is on the higher side. I feel it should be 15%.
No, the 25 is the existing threshold for all. The under resolution plan, SEBI has given relaxation saying you can come up to 10% within 18 months of approval of the resolution plan. 25 is existing. That is the law for every listed company. Okay. So that is not for discussion. That is the ultimate aim. That it could go up tomorrow, it may not. But as of today, 25 is the upper limit, or rather the minimum for any listed company to be achieved. So we are talking of in resolution plan under IBC, if a company wants to release, what should be the minimum? Okay, 25 or anything below 25. As of today, it is actually 10% to be achieved in 18 months time. So that is the discussion.
It should be 5%.
So you are saying that second option of 5%, it
Yes.
should be the minimum to start with. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And the lock-in requirement for the promoter also should not be at least 1 year.
No, it's already 1 year. So do you want it to be less or more? The existing is 1 year. Okay, thanks.
Okay, sir.
Ravi, can I make another point, small point?
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, what happens, what I remember, because I am the company secretary, probably I can the company secretary tell me better. Because when initially the listing concept came in, that time they had talked about that there should be some minimum shareholding. What I remember from my vague idea is that they started with the 10%. Thereafter, they brought it up to 25% over a period of time. So since this is this could be considered as one of the experience available within the SEBI domain. So that can be taken as a guidance, saying it that up to what minimum it can be brought down.
No, they already have it. They gave you to less than 1 to start with. Now they, based on whatever experience was there in the last 1 year or so, they come back to the market and asking the public at large, what should it be? Okay, should it be the same? Should it be more? Should it be, 5%, 10%, 6 months, 18 months, 3 years? Okay, that is the thing that they're asking. And yes, with or without modification of the options given by them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else, please?
We have Dr. Elada Rao with us.
Where is
And
he? He is missing. He is silent.
He is silent. I don't know why he is silent. He should not.
Dr. Rao Garu. He is not talking. Yeah, now. Dr. Rao. Okay. Right. Anybody else wants to contribute? Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, on the disclosure point, I want to make a submission that SEBI has been very proactive as far as the insider disclosures are concerned for some time. It is not only today, but it has been a long time when the SEBI has been very proactively working on the insider trading mechanism. Now, all these informations which are coming.
Hello, please mute your mics. So, Suhasini, mute your mic.
Sorry, sir.
All these informations which are in the domain of the resolution professional or in the domain of a resolution applicant, I am certainly in agreement with the discussion paper that these information should be disclosed to the public. Definitely, whatever time frame, because as you rightly mentioned, there is no time frame prescribed regarding the disclosure of all this. I will just give a small analogy. When a company, can you please mute?
Hello, please mute your mics, everybody.
Yeah. So when a company is on the regional stock exchanges and is listed on the main stock exchange, that is BSE or NSE, then they submit an information memorandum regarding the details and everything. Why can't we have a similar methodology for a resolution applicant to submit, which includes, of course, all these 8 or 10 parameters, whatever has been mentioned in this paper? I am in 100% agreement that this is the disclosure requirement and it should be done. I am to saying it should go one step forward, a proper comprehensive document in the form of the information memorandum. Whatever checking out the information which is the competitive data, commercial data, you remove that data, rest part from the resolution plan should also be made public.
Right.
So I'm in for the particular information to be disclosed, because otherwise you can't stop the insider trading to happen.
Thank you, Amit.
Fully agree with Amit, except provided that SEBI gives sufficient time for these disclosures to be made. They usually give you 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. What do you at least say 4 weeks time after approval, plan approval, or 8 weeks, 9 weeks time, like that.
Yeah, I think if you go through those 8 points, each one can have a different timeline. Some of them are known at the time, even before you submit a resolution plan for approval. Maybe such of those data can be submitted by the RP, 2 or 3 basic information points as soon as the plan is approved. The rest obviously being an obligation of the company, which going forward is the obligation of the resolution applicant and not the RP per se, should take its own time. Thank you. Yes, anybody would like to comment anything? Okay, what do you people think about the idea of publishing the resolution plan itself? Shown off very specific confidential information. What is the sense? Should it be done? Should it not be done?
Sir, once we submit the resolution plan into the NCLT, it becomes the part of the public domain.
No, not everything submitted to a court becomes public document. And resolution plans don't. Not as they extend today. Some orders have included the part of the resolution plan exhaustively. Some have. Rekha, you are not able to hear you.
I think.
One second. Yeah. Okay. So some have given a summary, maybe a page or 2 pages. I have seen orders where the entire resolution plan is reproduced as it is from page 1 to the last page. So it depends, and there is no uniformity about it. The code is also silent as to whether it should be confidential or not, and if so, to what extent. So that if one goes by the basic premise that that which is not prohibited is permitted, so should it be done? Is there any reasoning behind doing so? For example, in the US, they do. You can find almost every Chapter 11 restructuring plan on the web for every large company. And I think the reasoning behind it is very clear. A lot of public money is involved in the investment and in the write-offs. So the public has a right to know what happened with that. Okay, that's the.
But I think you can clarify, because generally, because like I have just finished my one registration plan, but when I submitting the application, then I have my belief is that we should annex the registration plan as it is. And once I annex the registration plan as it is, because judges definitely like to see the registration plan, and once the registration plan is has been annexed and submitted to the NCLT, then it is available for anybody to go and get the certified copy immediately.
No, that is not what is the proposition that I put. I said, should it be published, means published in a publicly easily available domain. It could be the IBBI website. Definitely, it could be the stock exchange websites where applicable.
Appreciate it.
Should it be or should it not be?
I appreciate it.
Because that is point 8 of this disclosure requirement. Yeah, Amitji.
Sir, in my view, if we actually want to develop the insolvency profession, and also we want to encourage the resolution applicants, and if we want to improvise the resolution to the next level, as our IBBI chairman is also talking time and again that we should gear up to the occasion and we should prepare better resolution plans now, which are readily available on the shelf. Then definitely there is nothing which is confidential, barring few cases which is containing the confidential information. I am not proposing the confidential information to be disclosed or comment. What is proposed, I think it says the resolution plan, confidential information and confidential, not the disclosure of all these things. This will help the resolution profession to develop over a period of time, and it is confidential till a certain stage. A certain stage is only when the resolution plan is not approved. Once the resolution plan is approved, why it should remain confidential? It is the information where the public money is involved, where the stakeholder can go on the website and check how much he has got as a haircut approved, and what amount he will get from there. So whatever he raise, call he take a calculated call. Even a creditor who is a supplier of engine for the automobile industry, if a haircut has taken, he should know whether I should continue to deal with that company after resolution or not. So I for disclosure of all these information. It should not remain in domain of, because it will again, if the certain pocket, it will increase the insider.
Right. Thank you. Rekha, you want to try whether you are audible now?
May I?
One second. Just hold. 1 second. Rekha.
Pocket only.
Yeah. I think you are still not audible. Madanji, boli.
Sir, I have been advocating for this for last more than 2.5 years. That if I'm a stakeholder, I'm a aggrieved party, I need to challenge this plan. How can I challenge unless this plan is ever made available to me? So if not in public domain, at least to the stakeholders, it should be made public. It should be circulated to them. If not the entire, then certainly the main crux of the plan should be available to them. Like being a shareholder of a listed company, all of a sudden when the shares are debited from my account, I come to know that what is there in the plan. Otherwise, I am not aware about the plan. जब क्या होगा अब जब चिड़िया चुग गई खेत तो चिड़िया तो चुग चुकी है उसके बाद मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ उसका बताइए. It should be made available.
Yes, thank you Ji. Anything else? Okay, we are coming to 5:30. Unless somebody has something substantive to add, maybe.
I also have a point here to make. As Vedanta said that, I mean, certain things need to be disclosed, right? The publishing has to be done regarding the resolution plan, and subsequently, as we have experience into this field, the exceptions can be carved out. For example, certain information is later on discovered to be not disclosed in the interest of, I mean, some party or the public interest, then that can be carved out as an exception. So, in the interest of transparency, that publishing and all that might be included as a general rule.
Thank you, Nitin.
Just to add this point,
this publication should not come from SEBI. It should come from IBBI actually.
Which publication?
This sorry, I mean, making this resolution plan public. Yes. It should not come from SEBI. It should not be made applicable only to listed companies. It should be made applicable to other plans also.
Yes.
Exactly. There can be two portals. One, the IBBI portal, for example, I mean, as a suggestion, and the listed one for the listed parties. Very right.
And also to add why IBBI itself cannot bring a paper which says that these information will be considered confidential. Should not be left to the discretion of the resolution applicant that he marks everything and anything as a confidential. That cannot be the case.
Very right. Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I think we had a very fruitful discussion. So just very quickly, I will recapitulate what we broadly discussed. Okay, SEBI had proposed 3 options for the minimum public shareholding post relisting. Obviously applicable only to those companies which want to relist. There was 10% public shareholding to be achieved in 6 months, or 5% to start with, and then the third one was that minimum 10% even at the time of relisting itself. I would not be wrong if I say that the broad consensus was that it should be 10%, and that the not too much leeway should be given. How that 10% can to be achieved, there are various ways. And that should be left, that flexibility should be left to the resolution applicant. Along with that comes that if they want to do it by way of offloading their locked in share, then they should be permitted to the extent of only raising the public shareholding to the desired level. Okay, so this is the first 2 parts. Then on the disclosure, I think broadly there was no problem with any of the items of disclosure, except that adequate time should be given for those items which require collection of detailed information. We have also noted that the RP's role will be very limited in this. This will be largely the incoming management who has to deal with the disclosures. The RP may be limited only to the basic requirement of, I think, the item 6, which is the names of the promoters, etc., etc. Probably that should be mandatorily of the RP before going कि ये लोग आ रहे हैं, the handover किसको दे रहे हैं, and item 8 if the resolution plan has to be uploaded. So that should also be left to the RP only before he demits office, probably, but it can be anybody else, but this could be. So thank you all very much, and my role is over, and I will hand.
गंती साहब अपना व्यू तो बता दो प्लीज जरा.
सर मेरा व्यू तो जो आपका है सबका वही मेरा व्यू है.
just to add, you have perfectly summarized. I think you missed out the mention of suspension of trading till the time 10% holding is achieved.
Okay, I have not specifically mentioned it because I said let that mechanism be left to people who understand these things better as to how much time should be given. And see, if the company starts, and if you say, for example, that 10% shall be the minimum for listing, then till you achieve 10%, there is no trading. अपने आप हो जाता है बंद. तो बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है.
Majority was of the view. अब ये तो लिख दीजिए, majority was of the view till that time it should remain, trading should remain suspended.
Yes, minimum is achieved. Right, absolutely.
Yes,
No trading should be allowed till whatever is the decided minimum is achieved. Yeah,
Yes,
fair.
yes.
Okay, Nitin ji, hand over to you.
And thank you very much, sir. We thank every participant here. I mean, we have taken all their views on board and will be giving it to the appropriate authorities. We thank them for their taking their time. And
We lost your voice.
every Saturday organized. So can you hear me now?
Nitin. Now we can
Yes.
hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So just wanted to thank everyone for taking out time and letting us know their views on the subject. Specifically, Madan sir, Ravi sir, Praveen sir, Amit sir. I mean, everybody, I can name everybody, but I mean, that won't serve the purpose. So thanking everyone for taking out their time and supporting us in each and every step that we take further. Thank you very much.